very interesting that we've heard a lot about the New World Order from Gordon Brown, from Bush Senior before he passed away, from Bill Clinton and many others. Now, this woman, Alice Bailey, she says she was contacted by um, by this master of wisdom, whom we know to be a demon, and she then wrote a book about the New World Order. She dictated 24 volumes over a period of 30 years. Um, I believe that after Ellen G. White, Alice Bailey is the woman that wrote the most books after Ellen G. White, if I'm not mistaken. So Bailey and her husband founded Lucifer Trust. What a very interesting name to call an organization. They founded this organization to establish this New World Order. Because of controversy over the name, it was later changed to Lucis Trust. So whenever you hear of Lucis Trust, just bear in mind that it used to be called Lucifer Trust. Blavatsky's magazine was called Lucifer. Yeah. Blavatsky and Bailey both believe that Lucifer is the true God, whereas the God of the Bible is an imposter. That's what they believed. So Bailey's God was also called Sanat Kumara, with Sanat being a thinly veiled form of Satan, just like so-called Father Christmas, who they call Santa Claus. That the word Santa or the name Santa, some have said, actually means Satan. It's basically scrambling of letters to hide who so-called Father Christmas is. And some say it's actually Satan. Bailey taught against nationalism because it's contrary to the goal of human brotherhood and world harmony. And I'm sure we've all heard of national boundaries being removed. So, for instance, Trump has been talking about annexing Greenland and Panama Canal, and it's been predicted, I think even over 10, 15 years ago, it was predicted that Mexico, America and Canada are going to be united and become one block, because remember, the plan is to have these 10 kingdoms or regions in the world, with Mexico, America and Canada being one block. And obviously at the top there you have Greenland as well. It's going to be part of that block as well. And obviously we already have the European Union, which is one of the the 10 kingdoms that's mentioned in Daniel 2. That's what the 10 toes represent. So World Goodwill, which is a part of Alice Bailey's Lucis Trust, is on the roster of the UN Economic and Social Council. Yes, this World Goodwill, which is part of Alice Bailey's Lucis Trust, is on the roster of the UN Economic and Social Council. World Goodwill is an approved NGO with the UN's Department of Public Information. The UN meditation room is maintained by the Lucis Trust. Yeah, so if anyone doesn't know what the meditation room at the UN is, it's basically a place where it doesn't matter what religion you are, you can go in there and pray. It says this room is maintained by the Lucis Trust. And remember that the Lucis Trust was called the Lucifer Trust before. It was founded by Alice Bailey and her husband. Alice Bailey supported the United Nations, which in turn greatly advanced her worldview, the worldview of bringing about a new world order where Satan is going to rule. This worldview found a devoted follower in Robert Mueller, who in 1948 entered and won an essay contest on how to govern the world. The prize was an internship at the newly created UN. Mueller spent more than 40 years at the UN and eventually became the Assistant Secretary General. So Mueller was a powerful insider who was responsible for setting up 11 different UN agencies. And he helped create the UN-endorsed global, that's what they call it. I don't believe that we live on a globe, but that's what they called it, global education program known as the World Core Curriculum, which the US and numerous other countries incorporated into their educational systems. all this one Mala, the designation of father of global education. So in the US, they use this world core curriculum, which was started by Robert Muller, and Robert Muller was basically a student of Alice Bailey, who worshipped Satan. And they say, it says that Robert Muller was known as the father of global education. Alice Bailey also wrote a book titled The Externalization of the Hierarchy, in which she said the hierarchy, when she's talking of the hierarchy, externalization basically is the manifestation, and the hierarchy is demons. So when she talks about the externalization of the hierarchy, she's talking about the manifestation of demons. And she actually said that the externalization of the hierarchy will take place in 2025. So right now, at the time of recording this, we're in 2025. So it'll be interesting to see what actually happens before the end of 2025. It says that they will physically manifest themselves. So Satan and his demons will manifest themselves according to Alice A. Bailey. But sometimes there can be a change to the program because maybe the time is not right for that particular this particular incident or manifestation to take place. So we'll see what happens. But yeah, that's the part that the UN is playing, along with, remember I spoke about the banks, I spoke about the papacy or the Vatican, and how basically it's like a pyramid. The one at the very top is Lucifer, and then below that is the papacy headed by the Jesuits, and then you have the bankers, and you have the UN, and you have the governments and the politicians taking their part in ruling the world. There are many organizations all that are working together, including the police and the military as well. So yeah, it's best to have our eyes open to what's really happening, because if we don't understand how the world works, we'll be deceived.
If all the people in the world, 9 billion inhabitants, stood next to each other, 4 people per 1 square meter, the entire human population would fit on an area the size of the Istrian Peninsula. If each person in the world were provided with a space of about 1,000 square meters to grow food for themselves, the entire human population would fit on an area equivalent to the size of Brazil. If each 4-member family were provided with a space of about 700 square meters to grow food for themselves, the entire human population would fit on an area equivalent to Iran. In 2019, it was estimated that there were approximately 7.7 billion people in the world. Almost all the necessary vegetable quantities for a 4-member family can be produced on about 200 square meters of garden space. It is known that arable land currently covers an area of about 31 million square kilometer. On this land, the vegetable quantities needed to feed 155 billion people, or over 38 billion 4-member families, could be grown. There are not too many people. There is more than enough space for everyone, except for greed.
Welcome. Today we delve in the depths of history, a deceptive notion that took root, a myth that would propagate through the ages. It was the 19th century when whispers of a demonic overpopulation myth first emerged, claiming that humanity's numbers would surpass the capacity of the earth to sustain them. Advocates of this falsehood proposed various preventative measures, such as family planning, getting married later, or even staying single as a means to curb population growth. Little did they know that this myth was not only unfounded, but also a dangerous deception originating from Satan himself. Since the fall of Adam and Eve in the garden, the adversary has relentlessly worked to undermine God's creation. Today, his cunning schemes involve manipulating governments, politicians, and a lost world, using abortion as a purported solution to the fabricated problem of global overpopulation. Yet, the truth lies in God's divine design. From the dawn of time, He ordained marriage, procreation, and the family as the bedrock of human flourishing. In His infinite wisdom, God equipped the world to accommodate the growth of humanity, endowing His creation with the ability to solve problems through science and technology. Contrary to the dire predictions of the myth, standards of living have improved, and life expectancy has increased as the global population has grown. As believers in the biblical narrative of creation, fall, redemption, and restoration, it is our sacred duty to share this truth. We must embrace the understanding that population growth is part of God's command to fill the earth and steward it. As followers of Christ, we should champion healthy and normative patterns of human flourishing, upholding the sanctity of one man and one woman parenting. Furthermore, we must affirm the intrinsic value of all human life, including those in the mother's womb, and actively support the importance of the family unit. Combating the materialistic mindset that plagues society is another vital aspect of our role as Christians. Instead of pursuing unchecked consumption and material possessions, we are called to be stewards of the created world, finding joy and identity not in worldly goods but in our relationship with God. Tragically, the idea of overpopulation has resulted in global mass murder and calls for expanded abortion access. The myth serves as a pretext for murder and stands in opposition to the biblical view of children, family, and procreation. Christians who hold firm to the sanctity of life must expose this demonic lie for what it truly is. Let us challenge the false narrative that population growth is inherently problematic. Let us celebrate the advancements in agriculture and technology that have expanded our capacity for food production. By embracing a biblical perspective on population growth, we affirm the immeasurable worth and dignity of every human life. As ambassadors of Christ, we can actively promote adoption as a positive response to the fabricated myth of overpopulation. Supporting policies that prioritize the well-being of families and children is a powerful means to counteract the negative effects of this falsehood. Education and awareness campaigns play a crucial role in debunking the myth and shedding light on its harmful consequences. In the public sphere, Christians should be vocal advocates for policies that protect the sanctity of life and firmly reject any form of population control measures. Ultimately, the demonic lie overpopulation undermines the very foundation of the biblical worldview, distorting our understanding of God's magnificent design for humanity. In this battle of truth versus deception, let us stand united, armed with the knowledge of Scripture and the conviction that God's plan for human flourishing surpasses any flawed human theory. Together, we can expose the demonic lie of overpopulation and restore the divine truth that lies at the core of our existence. Today, if you haven't yet embraced Jesus as your Savior, we kindly urge you to turn to Him and welcome Him into your life. By doing so, you will become a part of His loving family and experience the true essence and joy of belonging.